So, next question here, as I look around here on my notes. Kayvon from Hiawatha, Iowa. Interesting name there. So, let me fix myself in my chair here. So, Kayvon from Iowa, or from Hiawatha, Iowa, is saying, what are some of the most heartbreaking losses in college ball in recent memory? There's definitely a few here I could put out in recent memory. I guess you would have to go back if you want to go that route. I would say I don't have to go like certain years. We can just do these randomly, right? So first one that comes to mind is probably the 2010 Iron Bowl, at least on the Bama side of things. And obviously for Auburn fans, you were down 24-0. This is, of course, the year they won the national title of Cam Newton and that all of those 30 plus seniors. So that Iron Bowl, you're down 24-0. You come all the way back and you win. Everyone talks about the Auburn side of things, and everyone always talks about how exciting the game was and how historic that was for Auburn, and it was for sure. But the Bama side of things, that has to be the most demoralizing loss in Alabama football history, at least in modern history. I mean, you were up that much. You were, teaching your rival a lesson. You were still reminding them who's the boss and who's the big boy in the SEC. Now, grant you, yes, it was early on in Nick Saban's career at Alabama, but at that point, with his second year and then his third year winning the national title, I think a lot of folks started to realize what was going to happen. This guy is going to build an empire, at least in the college football empire, in Tuscaloosa. And I think, this is something that Bud Elliott over on Cover 3 brings up a lot. And I agree with him that team, that Bama team in 2010, probably the most misused team of the Saban era. Not that it was misused in terms of they didn't win a lot of games. It's just that team was just so loaded. And with, you have Julio Jones, you have Mark Ingram, you have Trent Richardson, you have all these players on defense, all of the people there from the defensive side of football and on offense combined. That's just amazing to me. They didn't even make it to the national title, which is crazy. That their rival Auburn across state is a team who did. So it's funny that that year, yes, a team imagine telling yourself going into the year in 2010, preseason of that year, you tell yourself, or maybe you travel forward in time and you come back in time to tell yourself in the past that summer of 2010 saying, hey, I've seen the future and I'll just tell you this one thing, that a team from the state of Alabama won the SEC championship game, won the national title, finished the season undefeated. Who do you think it is? I guarantee you 99% of the people across the country, with the small percent being, I guess, I don't know, hopeful Auburn fans, would have, even some Auburn fans in general, probably been like, yeah, probably it's Alabama. Probably it's Nick Saban. They probably won the national title again, and they didn't lose a game again. Well, it turns out it was Auburn. And, yeah, I do agree with Bud Elliott from Cover 3 and 247. That's probably the most misused Bama team under Nick Saban. Again, that team could very easily win the national title if they didn't have, the game against South Carolina or the game against LSU. It's interesting, this year before the game of the century. But so the 2010 Iron Bowl from the Bama side of things, it's like just how demoralizing it is that watching your team melt away at 24-0 lead at home. By the way, a place that you haven't lost at home. I believe at the time Bama hadn't lost at home since, I believe, Nick Saban's first year. They're riding a 20-game winning streak or something at home. Year before, 2009, didn't lose at home. 2008, didn't lose at home as they were, the regular season they were undefeated. So that's literally, a 20-plus game winning streak just goes away. Again, remember, before that Iron Bowl, the two losses they had before that were all on the road. Again, that was at South Carolina and at Mississippi State, at LSU. So, that one comes to mind as a heartbreaking loss. If you want to use Bama again, 2016, the national title with, Deshaun Watson finally winning his national title at Clemson. Jalen Hurts as a freshman leading Bama down in that final, what looked like the final drive of the game, running in for the touchdown. You have the final drive from Clemson, the Hunter Renfrow pick play. That one also probably one I can mention here as a very, very heartbreaking loss. The kick six comes to mind as well. If you want to go back to the, keeping on the Bama, the Alabama theme here, it sounds like. So, very demoralizing. Again, that team, too, probably could have easily won the national title or made it to the national title to face Florida State. The Georgia-Auburn Hail Mary, the prayer of Jordan Hare, 2013, another demoralizing loss. I'm sure Georgia fans still want to forgive Mark Richt for, even though he wasn't out there playing. He wasn't a player on the field. He just was the coach at the time, and he's the one that gets all the blame. Like I said, moving away from SEC teams, I mean, Geez, I mean, I'll have to mention this one. This one's probably another classic one. The trouble with the snap game, the block punt for a touchdown, Michigan State. Jim Harbaugh's first year. I think Michigan at that point was like a top 10 team. Going to that game, Michigan State, of course, was undefeated still. Yes, at that point they almost lost to like Rutgers and Purdue, but you know. So yeah, that one comes to mind, at least from the Michigan side of things. Michigan, Ohio State, 2016. The fourth down and inches play, or the 4th and 5 play, or whatever it was, when people thought JT Barrett was short with the football, and it turns out he wasn't. A lot of Michigan fans still believe that, he was short. And then then the last one here, probably the more recent, out of all these games, I would choose here as a heartbreaking loss is was it 2024 or 2023? I think it was 2020. No, it was the 2022 season Peach Bowl, Georgia, Ohio State. That one. I mean, for Ohio State fans, I mean, just knowing that you were one made field goal away from beating Georgia and then more likely beating TCU, I would assume they would, given what happened to them, what happened to Texas Christian versus Georgia, or TCU versus Georgia in the actual national title. But man, if you're a Ohio State fan, watching that kick miss and just knowing that you were just that close from potentially winning your first national title in the 2020s in almost a decade. Now, I grant you, yes, eventually, Ryan Day would win a national title a few years later. But man, I can just remember that watching that game and just how deflated Ohio State fans were, and just the anger and the frustration of Ryan Day, even though it wasn't really warranted. Yes, and maybe from a competitive pressure standpoint, okay, sure, but then you have people like Shannon Sharp and others calling for him to get fired, which is like, I don't understand why that's a real thing. I don't understand that. But yeah, most recent or most heartbreaking losses in college football, clearly the 2010 Iron Bowl, 2013 Iron Bowl, 2013 Georgia Auburn, 2015 Michigan State Michigan, 2016 Ohio State Michigan, and then the 2022 or is it 2022 2023, whatever, it was that Peach Bowl semifinal, Georgia and Ohio State. Some of the most heartbreaking losses, I believe, recently in college football. I mean, I can name so many more. I mean, heck, I can even put up, earlier in the extra pod, you mentioned Mississippi State, 2014. I think that Bama game that year, definitely heartbreaking, knowing that they were down so much and they came back, but sort of a reverse of the Auburn Bama game in 2010. They just couldn't complete the comeback. So, yeah, those are probably the most heartbreaking losses, I believe, in recent memory in college football. I mean, I could go on for hours talking about that, but for me, those are certainly the most heartbreaking ones. So again, thank you, Kayvon from Hiawatha, Iowa, for that question.